Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, December 23rd, 2019. Let's take a look at our space weather here. Our solar wind speed's coming in at 349.2 kilometers per second with a density of 2.6. We are now 40 days in a row without sunspots. I've been doing this for 3 years now. I've been doing the daily updates for over a couple of years. And I don't think I've seen 40 days in a row without sunspots on our star. That gives us 277 for the year of 2019. Now that was my prediction of sunspots for the entire year. Obviously, we're going to eclipse that, no problem. But I just wanted to point out that during our space age record, the maximum amount of days without sunspots is 52. And that was done in the last minimum in 2009, 2010. So here we are at day 40 in a row without sunspots. Is that record, are we looking at possibly surpassing that 52 day in a row without sunspots? This is one of the longest streaks I think I've ever seen since I've started doing this. So 40 days in a row without sunspots. To me, all year long and last year, we saw 25 days, 30 days. 26 days, 32 days, 27 days, 33 days. It just seemed like we kept going back and forth between 27 and 33 days without spots. Here we are at day 40, and still, still no sunspots to report. Now we got a couple bright active regions, but they do not possess the characteristics that we need for a sunspot. So if you ask yourself about the sun's activity, and you've watched this channel for a couple of years, you'll know that there's cycles how things shift down and shift up. Right now we're trending down still. So deep minimum conditions continue. They're expected to really get deep by April of 2020, which spells really bad news for anyone who is planting between that time and June. If we're going to see more cosmic rays, we're going to see more minimum conditions. That's what we saw in 2019, almost the lowest of solar activity. So how bad is 2020 going to be? We'll just have to wait and see. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, when you're talking about cycles and you're talking about watching trends, this one right here is interesting to me because we are approaching a space age record of 52 days in a row without sunspots. We've already broke one space age record, and that was the amount of spotless days in a calendar year. So, which record's going to fall next? I think the TCI right now, 3.40. We're safe with that one, but that one's not too far out either as far as being broken. Our KP indices are coming in at a 2 with a 24-hour max of a 2. And we do have a coronal hole that is Earth-facing right now that is turning away. We could see some minor solar wind speeds increase on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Nothing major, no G1 storm predicted out of this, just, typical solar wind. And that's another thing. If you want to watch to find out if the sun starts coming back, is watching these G1 storms, G2 storms, G3 storms. In solar minimum, you only have so many G3s and so many G4s and so many, G2s and G1s. I think in 2016 and 17, we saw quite a few G3s, G4s. And then 2018, we saw G2s and G3s. And then here in 2019, we've maybe had 2 G2 geomagnetic storms. Maybe 3. Maybe. And the rest have been G1 storms or nothing at all. So there's another indication that we keep seeing geomagnetic activity decreasing also. So you've got less days with sunspots continuing. You have less geomagnetic storms from these solar wind speeds and these coronal holes. There's 2 indicators right there that show us that we are still in deep minimum conditions. Now, will the sun come back? Absolutely. But nowhere near the strength that it was in 24. And then 26, Anyway. Let's continue on here. Let's take a look at the grandsolarminimum.com where we have a look at the star all the way around. We are looking, let's see, let me get my arrow out and show you guys. Yeah, nothing there. I don't think. There we go. All right. Handy dandy arrow. I always feel like Bill Cosby on that one show where he would write on the dry eraser. Okay, anyway. So this is the back end of the sun. Negative is the western limb. Here is Earth facing at 0. And then this is the eastern limb. And if you look back on the eastern limb, well, there's the bright active region, not a sunspot, by the way, but nothing. Quiet. Very, very quiet. So the streak of spotless days could continue through not only just this month, but into January as well. In fact, that's kind of how the last 52-day in a row sunspot streak was broken. And that was from a switchover from December to January. So interesting that we are in the same position at the same time of the minimum. It's not a coincidence, folks. These cycles are almost precise. And that's the fascinating part about studying solar cycles. They're almost like clockwork to the T. It's not a coincidence that we are facing the deeper part of this minimum and spotless days as many as we've seen. It's almost exactly the same period of time that we were when we broke the last space age record of 52 days in a row. We're 12 away from that, folks, less than 2 weeks. Take a look at some weather. Our friends across the pond here in Europe, United Kingdom, Ireland, Scotland. Snow for you in Norway. Rain. Hello, Henrik. Getting some rain on those plants, baby. There you go. Go ahead and check out the forecast real quick. Let's see what we got in store here for us. Today, spells of rain for parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, and far north England. Elsewhere, many areas dry with some sun. Early showers in the western parts of England and Wales, but that is fading. Some rain into Cornwall later today. Tonight, here in a few hours, I should say, clouds and outbreaks of rain spreading across much of England and Wales. Showers following into southern UK and continuing into parts of Scotland. Freezing patches of fog in parts of Scotland. And by the way, we had some horrific fog in West Virginia where 69 cars were involved in a pileup. 51 that I heard were in injuries in that accident, and quite a few of them were life-threatening as well. Ice and fog played an effect for that, folks, so be on the lookout for freezing fog here in parts of Scotland. On Tuesday, Christmas Eve, much of northern and central England and North Wales cloudy with early rain. Further south, windy and showery, especially South Wales and southern England. Also some showers over western Scotland. And outlook for Christmas Day through Friday. Sunny but cold on Christmas Day, turning more unsettled through Boxing Day with rain and strong winds pushing east. By Friday, cloudy and mild with rain mostly across the northwest. And we are still waiting on a shot of cold air for winter to kind of kick in. I think a lot of folks would agree that we are looking at sometime after the new year where we start to see that winter cold in the UK. Still kind of mild for you guys over there. Some folks are like, well, we're not even getting cold over here in the UK. Well, again, GSM is regional. It's not just an overnight global cooling event. This takes time. And God forbid we get a Tambora type event, that changes everything. So anyway, severe floods, 0. 59 flood warnings, that's up. And 150 flood alerts. Now, believe it or not, 84 of those warnings are no longer in force. So very soggy over here in the UK. And we will continue to watch the situation over there. It's just doing nothing but rain after rain after rain. I don't know if this is current. I'm just going to go ahead and refresh it because it takes a minute. And this is what we're expecting here over here in the UK and parts of Europe. More rain. There we are, Christmas Eve. We're moving through the south of the UK. And pretty decent system hitting Ireland and the UK by the 26th. And then watch out, there's more showers and storms on the 27th. This will bring some wind with it. And boy, we are very lucky that we didn't get the brunt of that. And so the rest of this year, we have a few shots for some decent rain here across the UK and other parts of Europe, especially in northern parts here, folks. Norway and Sweden definitely will see your share of snow. But some pretty decent systems moving through. All right, let's go over here to the US. White Christmas for 2019. And the possible is the light blue. I think the possible for the light blue is snow that's already on the ground, in my opinion. I know here in New York, We got about 5 inches on the ground. It still hasn't melted, 5 to 6 inches still. Good chance, even today is supposed to be a high of 44. Good chance we could still see snow on the ground for Christmas morning. So our fingers are crossed, but we are in that very slight area. The areas that you see white, those are the areas that have snow on the ground right now from fresh storms. And boy, is the Northwest and the Northern Plains definitely has a chance for some white Christmas action. Take a look at the current radar here. All the action today is in the Southeast, Georgia, South Carolina, now North Carolina, parts of Florida also, Jacksonville. You were in on the fun earlier. Now that rain is starting to move out. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Come on, Weather Channel. You and your cheeky radars here. All right, maybe we'll get it to work today. We'll see. But that's where the main action is right now in the Southeast, and that system is huge. And the good news is well, I'm sure some of you would have liked to see this turn into a white Christmas type situation for the Northeast. This has got the classic makings of a storm that could head up the East Coast. But that's not what the GFS is saying. And I'll show you that here in a minute. I mean, you would look at this and say, all right, that's going to be a nor'easter. Just by the way the moisture is flowing up the coast, slightly moving into Virginia as we speak right now. Not a lot of movement, though. There's your freezing temperatures for across the United States. Still, most of us pretty cold, except for the southeast. Watches, those are in the flooding kind of watches. Nothing winter related just right now. Waylon is disagreeing with me. Low temperatures across the United States, 30s, 20s and 30s. Not bad for December. And then there's your high temperatures. No, that's not 90s and 100s, folks. In Texas, that's 70s, which is probably pretty darn nice at this point in time if you live in the South with 70 degrees for the high. Rest of the country is going to expect some mid 40s to lower 50s for much of the region, except for the Northwest. Here's what NOAA thinks is going to happen today. Snow and mixed precipitation across Seattle. And also Oregon as well will be on the actions for some mixed precip. Idaho, all snow for you for the most part. Soggy in the southwest and soggy in the southeast. So rain at both southern corners of our United States. And then this is Tuesday, Christmas Eve. Lots of frozen precip across the Northwest and the western United States. And then by the time we get to Wednesday, Christmas Day, snow, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota. You guys could wake up to some beautiful flakes. The rest of us will just have to rely on the snow that's already on the ground. And taking a look, this is that system I was telling you about here at the bottom. GFS has this thing moving due east. All right, that's by tomorrow. This thing is not even acting like it's going to go to the north. And I want to show you the radar one more time. Let's zoom in. Is this thing behaving as the GFS is saying it's going to behave? Yeesh. We really need some improvements on live radars here, guys. I do apologize. All right, let's take this in motion if it will ever play. At this point, I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not saying that. I report on this. I show you guys what I observe and go from there. But this storm definitely is moving a little bit east. But you got to notice right here the rotation and pushing above that state line here into Virginia. I guess we'll watch and see if this flattens out and moves off to the east, or does this continue to grow into Lynchburg and Richmond, Virginia, where it's not supposed to go. So right now, this is just an all-rain event that's supposed to race off into the Atlantic. We'll see. I don't think it's behaving the way that the GFS is quite predicting it, but then again, we'll have to just wait and see. So GFS has that storm out of here by the 24th. No rain or anything like that on the East Coast. Snow in the Four Corners, possible on higher elevations. Definitely some rain in the Northwest. And in the Southwest after Christmas, pretty dry for the most of the country, though, if you look at the overall picture. By the 26th, more moisture over to Southern California and Arizona. This is their rainy season. And then we get a little bit of a disruption here in the Great Lakes that could reach out into the Northeast. And then a pretty decent sized system develops here on the 28th. That's a Saturday, bringing snow to Nebraska, parts of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. And boy, it gets pretty heavy. Thankfully, it's snow side on just the north of this, as it's going to be mainly all rain. That might melt what we have on the ground too by the 29th. But watch out, because cold air is going to be reinforced after this system. And there's where the snow showers will start to come back to the northeast, is on the 30th of December. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 systems, 5 systems, 6 that could affect the northeast. Most of them are light. By January 8th, we will see heavier snow possibly developing. This is way far out, but the GFS has given us an idea of what it's thinking. And I've been saying this too, based on information that I've seen. The really cold stuff, or the snowy stuff, we start seeing that second week of January, and it already, the GFS is indicating that at least in the northeast, we will see an increase in winter precipitation, winter temperatures. And then looking at this goes all the way out to the 8th of January. And if you notice at the end runs here, and I'll show you, we are at the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So as we get closer to the end of December, we see that ridge riding up the East Coast for that warm temperatures. That moves out by the 30th. Here we are at the end of December, and more cold is pushing in from the Arctic by January. And that trend, especially in the Northeast, looks to continue. Now, part of the reason why we're seeing just the cold in the Northeast and the Northwest is because of the warmer temperatures that's in the Northeast Pacific. And that is creating a ridge for us here in the United States that starts here and goes down like this. All right. So everything up here is basically falling at a southeast angle. And so when you look at this cold blob here and how it's forcing more colder air, with the way things are moving, this colder air could only be forced at this point right now just in the Northeast, possibly some Great Lakes states as well, and the Northern Plains. But that's why we're seeing this Arctic cold flowing to the Northeast and not to the Northern Plains, or not to the Northwest, or even in the Midwest. Unless we get a huge push of some of this really cold, frigid air up that's in the far parts of the Arctic. Right now, we're just looking at, 20s, teens for highs. But this is an indicator here towards January. This continues to pulsate as if we're going to see much, much colder air filter in by the middle of January. That's my thinking. A few other people are believing that as well. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this busy Christmas Eve Monday morning. I'm sure everyone has plenty to do themselves. So we will tentatively try to do a show tonight. If not, definitely Christmas Eve morning, you will see us live with another Grand Solar Minimum update. We hope everyone has a great day, and take care. We will talk soon, guys.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description.